Alright, what's up everybody? It's your boy Keenan. Welcome to today's vlog. We are on week 10 of the college football season, and I have a lot of great matchups for you, particularly in the second half of Saturday. Now I'm going to start with Thursday night's matchup between Miami, the U, against Virginia Tech. I think this is going to be a good ACC showdown because in recent seasons, these two teams have been duking it out, and we had a couple of good classic matchups. Now for this season, I'm thinking I'm going to go with the Hurricanes in this matchup because of Virginia Tech's lack of running the football. The only person who can run the football somewhat effectively is quarterback Logan Thomas, but he cannot do everything himself. And I think the speed of Miami can keep up with Virginia Tech. I think because of that speed and swiftness of that team, both sides of the ball, I think they should have no problems at having the home field advantage and pulling off the victory. Next game we need to talk about heading into Saturday, talking about TCU and number 21 West Virginia. This is going to be a good matchup for you guys to watch. TCU has a good defense under coach Gary Patterson. Now without Casey Paul, that was a big struggle for the TCU Horned Frogs, and they lost a couple of matches in which they were unranked coming towards this week. Now West Virginia, they lost 2 consecutive games to Kansas State and Texas Tech, and they're looking to bounce back, but they're still ranked in the top 25. I'm going to go with West Virginia in this one. I think their defense is going to play well enough to win this matchup. Next game we need to talk about headed into the SEC Conference. Number 16 Texas A&M is going to be battling number 15 Mississippi State. Now this is going to be an interesting match to watch. I'm going to go with the Aggies in this one. This team has surprised a lot of people in the SEC Conference. I did not know that Kevin Sumlin, the head coach of the Aggies, was going to coach this team this well in their first season in the SEC Conference, especially with a freshman quarterback and sensational phenom and Johnny Manziel. He's leading the team in rushing and throwing the football. They had a close loss last week, 24-19 against LSU, and I think they can play against amongst the best of the SEC Conference. This is going to be an interesting matchup to watch. Now last week for Mississippi State, they got pulverized by Alabama 38-7. Now this is going to be a tough call for me. This is going to be another tough game for Texas A&M and Mississippi State, but I'm going to go with the Aggies in this matchup. Now, next game we need to talk about, my Texas Longhorns is going to be traveling to Texas Tech to face the Raiders, number 18th ranked team in the nation, against number 23 Texas. Texas clawed their way back, staying within the rankings. This is going to be a good match to watch, but I'm going to have to go with the Red Raiders in this one because Seth Doogie is an awesome quarterback, 30 touchdown passes, 8 interceptions. He's having a great season throwing the football, and I think he's going to perform well against my Longhorns. Even though I'm a Longhorn fan, like I said many times again, I am still a college football analyst, and I have to do my job. I'm going to go with the Red Raiders with the upset against my Longhorns, even though they're ranked higher than the Texas Longhorns. Next game we need to talk about, number 20 Nebraska, making it back within the top 25, is facing Michigan State at East Lansing. I'm going to go with the Nebraska Cornhuskers in this one because there are a couple of good wins against last week to Wisconsin and 2 weeks ago against Michigan. I think this is going to continue to keep their streak alive, and I'm going to have to go with the Cornhuskers in this matchup. Now I'm going to go straight back to Saturday night, heading to the second half, starting at 7 o'clock Eastern, one of the games of the week. Number 4 Oregon is going to be traveling to number 17 USC. Now this can be a preview of the Pac-12 championship. We still got a couple of games left in conference play. I'm going to have to go with the Oregon Ducks in this one. USC has just been falling apart. I really had them picked going for the national championship this season, but with those two losses, they're definitely out off the national title contender, but they can still try to win the Pac-12 championship, and this can be a preview, like I said, of that Pac-12 title. This is going to be a high-flying offense by both teams, explosive offenses. This is going to be a high-scoring matchup, but I have to go with the Ducks because they just have a lot of great speed on that offensive side. DeAnthony Thomas, arguably some people think he's the fastest guy in college football. Next game we need to talk about, number 2 Kansas State is going to be at home, Little Manhattan, to host the number 24 ranked Oklahoma State Cowboys. Now the Cowboys started the season off pretty bad, losing their rankings, but they ended up clawing their way back in. 2 losses this season, and there was a little bit of a disappointment to me in the first half of the season, but they're bouncing their way back, and they can pull this upset against this Kansas Wildcat team. But this team is on a mission. Talk about Kansas State, I'm going to have to go with the Wildcats in this one. Colin Klein should be good running the football and throwing when he needs to. He's definitely the front runner this season for the Heisman Trophy over Geno Smith of West Virginia, who I mentioned many times before. Next game we need to talk about a Mountain West showdown between number 19 Boise State and San Diego State. Boise State is 4-0 in conference play, while the Aztecs of San Diego State is 4-1. This is could be good implications for the Mountain West Conference Championship. With Boise State with just one loss with their first week lost to Michigan State, they ended up going undefeated for the remainder of the season, going 7-1, and I think they're going to keep that ball rolling. I'm going to go with the Broncos in that matchup. Next game we need to talk about, going back to the Pac-12 Conference, UCLA is hosting number 22 Arizona. Arizona is actually 5-2, while UCLA is 6-2, and Arizona is still cracked the top 25. They had a couple of great wins, including last week's big victory against USC at USC. That was a big victory for the Wildcats, and they have another road match in the Rose Bowl against UCLA. This is going to be a good match to watch. I really believe in Matt Scott, the quarterback for the Arizona Cardinals. I'm talking about the Wildcats. He had a big game last week against USC, and then he is a good leader for this team. This team plays all four quarters hard. I like this team a lot. I'm going to go with the Wildcats in this matchup. Now, my game of the, another game we need to talk about, going back to the ACC, number 13 Clemson is going to be traveling to Duke. I'm going to go with Clemson in this one, but I'm a little bit disappointed in that defense, especially by linebacker Tony Stewart. He still hasn't sprouted up yet to being shown why he's one of the top high school prospects back in 2011. He's a good linebacker along with Stephon Anthony. I thought both of these two players signing with Clemson in the same year, sophomores this season. I thought they were going to be going to have a great career in Clemson. They're kind of struggling a little bit. Anthony actually sprouts up a little bit, leading the team in tackles, but Tony Stewart has not been showing up too much, mainly due to some injuries, but that is still no excuse. I think he's a better player than that. He still has 2 years left to grow up, mature a little bit more, and develop to become a good college football linebacker. I think both these two players should step it up in this matchup and stop Duke's passing offense. I'm going to have to go with Clemson in this matchup. Now, my game of the week. This is going to be an SEC West Championship showdown, in my opinion, between LSU and Alabama. This game is going to be played at Death Valley. Now, this can be an upset alert for Alabama, but they are just way too much like a football team. LSU has a couple of flaws on that defensive side. They're not as strong as they were last season due to the loss of Tyrann Mathieu, but they still have a good defense overall, a sick defensive line, and that's going to be key in this matchup. The offensive line for Alabama and the defensive line of LSU with Mingo and Montgomery versus Jones and all the great players. Cyrus Kawajo, he's a good offensive linebacker. They have the offensive line, but they have a great offensive line for Alabama, and this is going to be a good showdown between that defensive line, and I'm going to keep an eye on both sides of the field on that defensive line, because that's going to be controlling that line of scrimmage in this matchup. But going back to Alabama, their defense is stacked. They ended up reloading, like I said before, and I think this team is too much of a powerhouse, and A.J. McCarron does deserve to be at least a top 5 candidate for this year's Heisman Trophy. 0 interceptions this season, and he's leading the league in passing efficiency in college football across the nation. He's a good quarterback, and he does deserve at least a top 5 selection for this year's Heisman. He's having a great, tremendous season, leading this team to an undefeated year thus far, and I'm going to have to go with the Crimson Tide in this matchup. Now, next I'm going to catch you guys is on Monday to give you a recap of Week 10 of the college football season. I'll see you guys then. Thank you for watching today's vlog from Franchise Sports Talk. I'm your man, Akeem McCall. Be easy.